Welcome everyone to the next episode in our Night Springs series. If you are new, I recommend pausing and watching the introduction video which breaks down the nature of the TV show before proceeding further. With that out of the way, grab some popcorn and let's check out today's episode of Night Springs.
Tonight's episode, The Man in the Mirror.
He's inside, Agent. He's a weird one.
So, you're confessing to killing that guy, huh? Why?
Had it coming?
Yeah, but why would you do that? I mean, you're a nice guy. Normal. Took a kid to a soccer game. So how come at the game, you pick a guy and, quoting from the arresting officer's report here, assault the victim's head area repeatedly with the weapon of choice being a pair of bare fists? Wow, that sentence really flows, huh? Maybe you're not the literary type. Okay, so you mess him up. But why? Who was that guy? We couldn't ID him. Why would a guy like you do him like that?
I didn't like his face?
Well, you must have hated it, because you really went to town there. I mean, there's no way to tell what he looked like. No ID on him either.
That must be difficult.
But then we ran the fingerprints. Got a match. Your prints. Identical.
Huh, how about that?
Your son said you were wearing a white shirt when you took him to the game, but the white shirt is on the dead guy.
It's plenty red now.
You won't get away with this.
Do you really think that's in any way relevant to me? I had plenty of time to talk to my boy before the cops arrived, you know? He won't stop screaming, am I right? You think he's ever gonna be okay? I left my mark. Believe
You
me.
bastard!
What? You gonna shoot me? What's the point? I'm going to prison. You got me.
I don't understand any of this.
And you never will. Don't worry. Maybe you'll see me again, Agent. Maybe in the mirror.
The agent narrowly avoided becoming a monster. But has he gazed long enough into the abyss? Did he glimpse the heart of Night Springs?
The Man in the Mirror is an episode with various links to the greater story. The themes and tone echo other writings done in the Remedy universe. First and foremost, we know this one was written by Alan himself. The t-shirt worn by the suspect has the words "I'm awake" emblazoned on the front. A cute little signature from this episode's creator. However, the implications go much further than this. If we go into the episode with the intention of looking for a deeper meaning, various things stand out. The relationship between the victim and the perpetrator mirrors others in the RCU. The most obvious one being the relationship between Alan himself and Mr. Scrooge, a twisted version of the real person that wears the same face. It is likely that when trapped in Bird's Lake Cabin, Alan used aspects of this episode as inspiration when crafting a story around Mr. Scrooge. Another low-hanging fruit is how the Victorian mirror creates a mirror world where the dark half exists. Jessie confronting Asej, her darker, wilder self. However, there is one echo from the Remedy lore with more concrete connections. Address Unknown is another fictional TV series that appears in Max Payne. It followed the story of John, a man who believes he has been trapped in the twisted reflection of his reality. His evil doppelganger, John Mira, took over his life and became a serial killer. John claimed to see Mira in the mirror, taunting him about his crimes.
John Mira came to mock me in the bathroom mirror.
The comparisons to this Night Springs episode are too specific to be coincidental. Luckily, we have a good idea why that is. Seeing as Max Payne is a reflection of the Alex Casey books, Alan would have also used the idea of an evil doppelganger in those books as well. Chronologically, the Man in the Mirror episode would be the first version of this story. Barry mentioned that writing for Night Springs was Alan's first professional writing job. It was later confirmed in a manuscript from American Nightmare.
My name is Alan Wake, and I'm a writer. I didn't become one overnight. Like most writers, I struggled with it. A short story here, an article there. Then I got lucky and spent a year as a staff writer on the Night Springs TV show. It wasn't the great American novel of my fantasies, but it taught me discipline and craft, and the difference between wanting to be a writer and actually writing.
After learning his craft and developing his technique, Alan modified the story in his Alex Casey novels. While it may seem like a stretch to assert that the idea of John Mira and Address Unknown are related to Alan, we have proof that he was at the very least aware of the character. In the Signal DLC, Alan goes to the bathroom and finds graffiti in the stall stating, "Mira was here." This pocket of the dark place was formed from Alan's mind, so the characteristics of the setting are pulled from his past experience. After this, Alan developed Mr. Scrooge as the final incarnation of this character dynamic, a dark reflection of yourself. It is something that all of us have within us, unfiltered energy from the id-made flesh, the mindless primitive aspect of every human mind. Based upon the events of the episode, something happened that caused this part of the father to split, one with a black shirt and one with a white shirt. The dark aspect usurped the life of the other, split into a new body, then beat the original to death. John Mira took over John's life, and Mr. Scrooge threatened to do the same with Alan's life. What caused this is entirely down to speculations, so let's speculate. As of now, there is no evidence whether this situation truly occurred or was just a regular TV episode. Alan went on to use the plot to create real things later, repurposing them. If Night Springs erupted up from the dark place and captured this story though, what could have happened? During the interrogation, the dark entity who wore the face of the man taunted the detective. Based upon his words, it didn't sound like one man speaking to another. It sounded as though the man was attempting to call out to the dark aspect of the detective. In a way, seducing dark impulses, frustration, and anger from the other. Hearing how the thing in the black shirt gleefully recounts traumatizing his son would evoke revengeful thoughts in anyone. Pulling his gun, the detective is about to pull the trigger. What happens next is never shown after the doors close. The narrator hints that the detective did not become a monster here, but the details themselves are a bit hazy. The question comes up, was this a story about the light and dark side of a person splitting in two? Or is this a story of an entity that is the dark nature of humanity itself? The personification of the evil mankind is capable of. This could explain why the man did not care that he was arrested for murder. He was not bound to this world and could not be locked up. He exists within the heart of every man, woman, and child, waiting for the opportunity to spring forth from the darkness. Perhaps that is the reason he was so excited about traumatizing the boy, sowing seeds of darkness that will be reaped later in life, spreading its influence. Or I can be completely wrong and this can be a simple doppelganger situation. It doesn't need to be an extra-dimensional entity wearing the form of another, but between Barbara Jagger and Mr. Scrooge, there is precedence for it in Alan's writings. While this series will focus on Night Springs and the way it influences past, present, and future stories, I want to expand the scope a bit. The previous theory regarding an extra-dimensional entity residing within humanity's capacity for evil may be a bit of bias on my part. Alan Wake was inspired by previous works he did and stories he experienced growing up. The writers at Remedy are inspired by various things as well. I am not immune to drawing upon previous experience and applying it to my interpretations of this story. Leaving Remedy behind, let's discuss one of my favorite TV shows of all time and how it influences my breakdown of this episode. Chris Carter's show entitled Millennium deals with the nature of human evil. While writing the previous section, this scene kept popping in my head and I wanted to share it to really hammer home my point. Don't worry, there are no spoilers for the show itself.
I'm just confused about something I thought I understood about evil. What it is exactly.
You mean, what causes it?
It seems that the old biblical concept of the devil's influence has lost any currency.
I just think the language has changed. I think science and psychology have given us a clearer idea why people commit evil acts. I see it every day. Abused kids become abusive adults.
So the true source of evil is us?
You mean, are we all capable of it?
Or is there something out there, a force or a presence waiting until it can create another murder, another rape, another Holocaust?
Later, there is even a scene in an interrogation room that felt remarkably similar to this episode of Night Springs. Unlike the detective in that show, the protagonist in Millennium had a good idea that the suspect he was speaking to was not entirely human. But enough of that, let's go back to what you all came for. Alan mentions that there is an entire host of entities that reside within the Dark Place. We know of the Dark Presence and an entity I call the Harbinger, but is more commonly known as Mr. Scratch. What are the others, though? Is it possible that the evil shown in the Man in the Mirror is one of these entities? One that erupts from the darkness of the human mind when the person succumbs to their dark impulses. It then takes the form of its host and kills the original. Maybe it is something that we will see in future games. Within the mirror, all parts of ourself are laid bare. It is a pervasive theme throughout the Remedyverse that got started in the cult classic show Address Unknown. I'll leave this one off with some words from a certain pink flamingo. See you in the next episode.
Mirrors are more fun than television.
Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe to receive updates on future uploads. If you would like to help support the channel, a Patreon has been set up and the link is in the description below. Have a great day and peace be with you all.